What's going on, people? Today, I want to talk about something. As usual, I want to thank everybody for commenting, subscribing, even those that who have not subscribed. And if you've not subscribed, you can take a chance to do that. You can like, dislike, whatever. I appreciate all of it. And I want to talk about my sip today, which is Fars by Zherja. Um, what I really want to talk about to you guys is a lot of times people on the internet, a lot of us we're trying to help or trying to teach people in regards to being able to defend themselves or their rights. Um, but I forgot about a key thing. How can you defend yourself or arm yourself and protect your rights? And I'm sorry about my voice. I'm really under the weather. I've been under the weather for like a week and a half. So I apologize for some people if I've been doing delayed responses. Um, we we have to understand if we don't understand our rights, then they can be abridged. And the way that you understand your rights are, you have to understand there's natural, unalienable rights, and then there are rights created by man. And a lot of times, this is where I get into kind of issues where I create videos um, talking about the right to travel or the fact that you do not need a driver's license. There has not been one law established that a state can force you to get a driver's license. Okay. They can require it. Okay. A requirement is a suggestion. Okay. It's not mandatory unless it comes under the force of mandatory law, as I showed you. I don't like arguing and going back and forth with people because people are going, some people argue to be heard or just to waste your time. It's a lot of trolling on the internet. But you guys, to know your rights, you first have to understand what rights you have. How can you defend something you don't understand? And this is where a lot of people, you have problems understanding this information because you do not understand the crux of everything. Okay. So you have to understand in the preamble, there is a declaration or a Bill of Rights for all people. Okay. If you don't know your state's constitution, it might be something you want to, kind of look into. Okay. Because this is what your state is bound by. Remember, the state constitution does not apply to you, it applies to the state. That's why I said the legislature applies to the people who swear oaths, meaning the people who are bound to speeding are public servants. You know what I'm saying? So then the system, the way that it works is the law enforcement enforces the law against everybody, but the legislature makes the laws in regards to the people who have sworn oaths or work under state guidelines. Now, where you see this prevalent is just by looking under the Constitution. Okay, if you want to see the 10th Amendment makes pretty much it puts everybody in their place. Okay. Um, Also, I have a video that if you've never seen it, you want to see it where I was talking about the Dred Scott case, where I'm talking about terms like popular sovereignty. Okay. Popular sovereignty is very well. Let's go over it right now on this call. Let's see. So, it's very, very important to understand popular sovereignty. Okay. And when I stated this in the video, I didn't even understand the significance until I started doing more study. That's the beautiful thing about doing videos is that you're not only teaching, but you're learning from other videos because I learned from my older videos too because I watch them. All right. So popular sovereignty in U.S. history, a controversial political doctrine according to which the people of the federal territories should decide for themselves whether their territories would enter the Union as free or slaves. Its enemies, especially in New England, called it the squatter sovereignty. So you hear these things like squatters' rights, etc. It was first applied in organizing the Utah and New Mexico territories in 1850. It is most crucial application when it came the passage of the U.S. Senate. Okay, Stephen Douglas of Kansas and Nebraska Act. Go read the Kansas and Nebraska Act. Go read the Missouri Compromise, and then read about Bloody Kansas, and it'll tell you about all of this. Really, what they're meaning is they're leaving it up to the citizens to delegate if they're going to be free or slaves. So it's really their choice because really, when you're born, it is man or woman's choice if they're going to be free or be a slave. Okay. 1854, which repealed the prohibition of slavery north of latitude 3630, established in the Missouri Compromise in 1820. The violent struggle that followed the control for the control of Kansas territory. See, bleeding Kansas. See, they're going to tell you the exact same thing. I knew this without even reading this. So I did a video talking about Dred Scott, and the reason why this is so paramount and so important that you understand these videos when I'm dropping like the Declaration of Independence, because I'm showing you how to declare your own independence. Okay, so now we'll go back to the state's declaration. So just like I said, you can't defend something you don't understand. So a lot of times when people try to do consultations, they try to learn, they try to get videos. The videos are for educational purposes, not just for a remedy. It's just to teach you. So then once you understand what's in the video, you should be able to obtain a remedy. Okay. Don't when you're doing consultations or when you're buying products from people, okay, the products do have to work, meaning they have to teach you something. That's the point. The person is not responsible for you receiving your remedy. Only you are. Okay. No matter who you look, who you teach, who you learn from, who you learn up under, they can only give you information. It's up to you to do the application and the applying of it based on your understanding. All right. So we're going to go to Article 1, which is Declaration of Rights. So everybody has equal or inherent rights. Okay. This is even people who are U.S. citizens or not, whoever identifies as nationals, whatever. You still have equal and inherent rights. Okay. All people are born equally and free and independent and have certain inherent rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted. Okay. So, all you people telling me that a legislature can pass laws and that the people are instantly bound to them, you don't even understand government. Let me read that bar for you again. Okay. So for some of you guys who you have to do what the government says, when the police tell you to do something, you better jump. You better. No, that's not how we play around here. All people are born equally free and independent and have certain inherent rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments have instituted. Governments are instituted. Okay, so the governments are instituted to protect your rights. They're not instituted to abridge your rights. So anytime a government is abridging your rights, they're acting contrary to what their charter is. So the Constitution is their corporate charter, okay? For them to do business as the state of. There's a reason why it says Wisconsin Constitution. It does not say the state of Wisconsin Constitution. It might say Wisconsin State Constitution, but it is not for this is for the state of Wisconsin to operate and do business on this land. All right. So just like Burger King, McDonald's, everybody has their own employee policy. This is the employee policy of the people who are occupying the government. Now, do you understand government and civics a lot better? The government, man built government to serve man. You see what I'm saying? So by by whatever your supreme being or whatever your deity you want to call or whatever, I don't try to get into religion. I try to stay out of that because I know a lot about religion. I've studied religion for years, but I don't try to, I want people to hear the message, not my opinion. You see what I'm saying? So look, slavery prohibited, right? So if you're on parole, right, but you didn't have a fair trial, why wouldn't you go back and try to get a fair trial so you can get on parole? You know what I'm saying? So these are the things that you have to understand. Slavery is prohibited, okay? So if you have a foreclosure, a repossession, etc., what do you think that constitutes as? If I could take your vehicle, right, and then have a money judgment against you, that means that you've got nothing out of you receive no consideration. So how can they still bind you to specific performance? Okay? So slavery is prohibited. There shall be neither slavery nor involuntary servitude in this state. What do you think a debt is? For all those that are very inquisitive and curious people, what do you think a debt is? It's involuntary servitude. Because if somebody's saying you have to work to pay back a car until the principal and the interest is paid, when they took the principal and interest and just created it out of a document, that's invalid servitude, involuntary servitude. Okay, so otherwise for the punishment of a crime, okay, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. That means that you can't be arrested, you can't be detained unless there's exigent circumstances. If they're not exigent circumstances, anything that happened to you is fraud. Free speech. I know some people hate it. We hate it. You know, I mean, not we hate it, but some people hate free speech. They try to, quail and quash free speech, but everybody has a right to free speech. And you still, even on these apps where they try to tell you, you don't have a right to free speech. Well, you do have a right to free speech, but you do have to adhere to their guidelines too. So you have to respect. Everything has to be respect regardless. Okay. So free speech. Every person may freely speak, write, and publish sentiments on all subjects, being responsible for the abuse of that right, and no law shall be passed to restrain or abridge the liberty of speech or of the press. In criminal prosecutions or indictments for libel, the truth may be given in evidence, and it shall appear to the jury that the matter is charged as libelous be true, and was published with good motives and for justifiable ends. The party shall be acquitted, and jury shall have the right to determine the law and the fact. See, when you're going to these court cases, these trials and stuff, you're supposed to be tried by your peers. You're not supposed to be tried by random strangers, because random strangers, even if you understand credit, when they're talking about doing a reasonable investigation, they have to actually interview people who know you. They can't interview the corporation. But then they can't even interview the people who know you because that'd be giving out your private information. All right. So you have the right to assemble and a right in a petition. This is based in the Constitution. So you have a right to assemble and petition. The right of the people peacefully to assemble, to consult for the common good, and petition the government or any department thereof shall never be abridged. So now when you guys hear me say stuff like I reach out to my trustees, my state agents, that's how I'm able to get stuff off my credit quicker. This is why, because I read the Constitution. I know the Constitution of my state. Okay. Trial by jury, verdict in civil cases. Okay. The right of trial by jury shall remain uh, inviolate. Can't see it. I got it. Okay, I'll just go. And shall extend to all cases in law. So you see people saying you don't have a right to trial if your case is under. It says right here that you have a right to trial by jury, but you will go into a court or you will hear some of these people in these anti-sovereign so-called websites or anti-sovereign YouTube channels, and they'll sit there with a straight face and tell you that you do not have a right to a trial on a traffic matter. You have a right to trial. What does it say? The right to trial by jury shall remain invalid and shall extend to all cases at law without regard to the amount in controversy. So if somebody tells you that you don't have a right to a trial by jury in a traffic case, they are a bold-faced liar. Okay? So some of y'all, you don't know your rights because you don't read the Constitution. Remember, the Constitution does not grant you rights. It makes it so the state and these agencies can't abridge your rights. Okay? Make that clear. It says it even in the Constitution. What did it say? It says that they derive their power from the consent to be governed. All right. So, provided, however, okay, so we'll go without regard to the amount of controversy, but the jury trial may be waived by the parties in all cases in manner prescribed by law, provided, however, that the legislature may, from time to time, by statute, provide that a valid verdict in civil cases may be based on the votes of a specified number of jury, not less than five six thereof. All right, excessive bail, cruel punishments. All right, so now you know this, right? Shall not be required, nor shall excessive fines be imposed, nor cruel or unusual punishments inflicted. All right, right of the accused. So this is where I'm talking really about these right to travel things, which is the right of the accused. Okay, in all criminal prosecution, the accused shall enjoy the right to be heard by himself and counsel. So they never said lawyers, they said counsel. Counsel can be anybody. It can be me, it could be your uncle, it could be your auntie. Anybody who is well versed in law can be your counsel. Okay. They do have to put documents on the record to represent you. Anybody can represent you. Any friend that you know can represent you in a trial. I hope you guys know that. Okay. To determine the nature and the cause of the accusation against him, to meet the witness face to face, to have compulsory process to compel the attendance of witnesses in his behalf. So that means that you can bring witness, you can bring in character witnesses, to say, hey, he may have did this or whatever, but it's not in his character to do this. So the judge is supposed to weigh that, but judges don't. In a bureaucracy, the judge wants to be a part of the bureaucracy. He or she wants to feel superior to her peers when he or she is supposed to be a trustee. And in prosecutions by indictments or information to a speedy public trial by an impartial jury of the county and or district wherein the offense shall have been committed, which county or district shall have been previously ascertained by law. Now, if you see this, you see how easy this is to figure out. Remedy for wrongs. Look, every person is entitled to a certain remedy in law for injuries or wrongs which may receive in his person, in his person, property, or character. See, character is more about for so many people who I've been talking to, telling you that you can sue banks, financial institutions. You can sue credit reporting agencies, state agencies for writing defamatory statements about you on credit reports, on public websites, etc. You can sue them for that. You can't sue the state, but you can sue the county. You can see who's reporting it. Where did you get that record from? And you can sue the person who's reporting it. All right. He ought to obtain justice freely without being obligated to purchase it. What? Don't they tell you have to bond out when you go to jail? Don't they tell you have to bond out? Don't they tell you have to put up a bond for your vehicle? Isn't that purchasing? That is purchasing. Completely without denial, promptly, and without delay. So let's get into something else. We'll go over to the robot, as I call it, in the chat GPT. And sometimes I like to ask simple questions, to help people in this. I use this platform to teach people because I think it's very quick and easy. Now remember, there is no AI, there's no artificial intelligence. This is just a search engine. Now, Google is a search engine. So I've heard somebody condemn people from getting information off Google. Google is a search engine. Where else are they supposed to get the information from? You can use a different search engine. I don't have to use Google. I could just go on the internet and find out the same information by using a search engine and pulling the website. Oh my God, people, man. Anywho, so the right to liberty. All right. So I was going through here, just seeing what rights that people have, and just making sure that people understand that they have a right. So, what are alienable rights? Quick, simple, easy question. And sometimes for some of you guys, I know you all just, I want to discharge debt and I just want to get a free car and I want to get a free house. Sometimes you have to understand the basics. Okay. Unalienable rights are fundamental rights that are considered inherent to human beings, often understood to be granted by a higher authority, such as a natural law, meaning just a law of nature, just a law of what us as humans have, or humans, whatever you want to consider yourself. I don't want to get into all that semantical. In a book of etymology, it says, okay, I know I use etymology too. So, but a higher authority, such as a natural law, creator, or divine power, and not contingent upon laws or customs established by human society or government. The concept of unalienable rights is closely associated with the principles of natural law and natural rights. Okay, most of you guys don't understand. Everybody has a right to defend themselves. Everybody has a right to be to life, liberty. Okay, so if somebody comes in and they put their hands on you, you have a right to defend yourself. You don't have a right to go and initiate it, but you have a right to defend yourself. Okay, the term unalienable is derived from the word inalienable, which means incapable of surrender, transfer, or given away. Well, if you go to certain trials, if you go to, you get certain traffic tickets, they'll try to say if you do not respond in 10 days, you waive your right to a jury trial. Now, isn't that a violation? Doesn't that mean that the traffic ticket can't be prosecuted? Of course it does, because it's trying to make you waive an inalienable right. So the only way you can waive that inalienable right is by what? Knowing and consent. So if you didn't knowingly waive any right to jury trial, or you didn't knowingly uh, waive any rights, even if you did waive them on the record, you can still come back and say, "Hey, I didn't know my rights. You guys never explained all my rights to me, so how would I know?" Okay, so which means okay, unalienable rights are thus rights that cannot be taken away, surrendered, or transferred by any individual or government because they are considered essential to human dignity, freedom, and well being. The most famous articulation of unalienable rights is found in the United States Declaration of Independence, which states, "We hold these truths to be self evident that men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creators with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." So, when you go over here, you want to know all your rights. So, according to this declaration, unalienable rights include life, the right to exist and enjoy one's life without arbitrary deprivation. Okay, so when you're dealing with taxation, you're dealing with all this other stuff, that's infringing on your life. But you don't know it because you've been doing it so much. You've been paying it so much that you don't even know your rights. Most of us have been beat down so much that we just think comply, 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 and not question when you should question everything. Why? Why should you question everything? Because it's there to be questioned. Okay. So the right to freedom and autonomy, including the freedom of thought, speech, assembly, religion, and movement. But don't we have provisions in the Constitution that quell insurrection? The pursuit of happiness, the right to pursue one's own happiness and well-being, which may include pursuit of one's goals, aspirations, and fulfillment. These rights are considered inherent and universal. That means every place on the planet accepts these rights as being unalienable. Doesn't mean it stop people from alienating your rights. Just because somebody passes a law, it's nothing unless the people enforce it. Just like if a state has a constitution, it's nothing if the people don't follow it. All right. So while governments may recognize, protects these through laws and institutions, They are not created by government and are not contingent upon government recognition or enforcement. Instead, they are considered essential aspects of human nature and dignity. All right. So that's when you hear people talking about creative or the balanced earth. Like if these people are, operating in dishonor, they're really their issue is not with you. It's the issue is with the creator of the balanced earth. That's what they say. That's people's philosophy. I don't try to jump in or out on somebody else's philosophy, but it is what it is. All right. So now we know that. Okay. So the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness are fundamental principles enshrined in the United States Declaration of Independence. Okay. So they forget about the state's bills of rights, of all that stuff, but they're thinking about the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence did not declare the United States independence. It declared the individual who signed the documents independent. Okay. So these, yeah, because a declaration is not a treaty unless the declaration is meant to show a treaty. But if you watch my video where I'm talking about the Declaration of Independence, and I go and I show you the Declaration of Independence was a motion. Remember, they didn't have all these court processes like we have now. Back in those days, you write a letter, and if you send it to a court, it would act as a motion. These are considered unalienable, meaning they're inherent and can't be surrendered. Okay, right to life. This refers to an inherent right of an individual to exist and enjoy their lives without arbitrary deprivation or interference. It encompasses the idea that every person has a basic entitlement to physical and psychological well-being, protection from harm, and the opportunity to flourish. Okay, the right of liberty. Okay, so this is where people try, they bring in and tie in the right to travel. Everybody has the right to travel. You do not have to have states documents to travel. Okay, there's a department of the state, and then there's a state department. So you guys need to understand that. All right. So they try to trick us by having a mirror system. It's a mirror system. Just like if you understand feudalism, you'll understand it's a mirror system. The right to liberty entails the freedom of individuals to act, think, and express themselves without undue restraint or coercion. It includes freedoms such as the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, freedom of movement, and other basic liberties that enable individuals to lead autonomous and self directed lives. Now, you might have to ask yourself, why would a state want to infringe on a person's right to travel? Well, the answer to that is because if a person can move from a state freely or travel freely, that means that the state has to try harder to entice people to want to be a party to that state. Let me explain. I was at a restaurant one time. I was sitting there and I was talking to somebody who was a waiter. And this restaurant is like, oh my God, I think it's on Second Street or Third Street in Milwaukee. So he's from California. And I said, hey, so you're in here, you're part of the Great Migration. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, they basically manipulated California to have you guys move out. And he was like, because he at first, well, no, I forgot how I said it. At first, I said that you were part of the Great Migration. He's like, what are you talking about? You're saying like they manipulated this to have us move so they could, do property things or whatever? I said, yeah. I said, this has happened throughout history. Remember down south, a lot of so-called black or so-called native people, they moved up from the south to come north to get jobs. All right. So this has happened throughout history. All right. And the reason why states will infringe on people's rights to travel is because they can charge you. See, a charge is a traffic ticket. A charge is a tax. A charge is a bill. Okay. So the right to pursue happiness. This encompasses the freedom of an individual to pursue their own goals, aspirations, and well being according to their own values and preferences. It recognizes that individuals have autonomy to make choices to contribute to their happiness, fulfillment, and overall quality of life, including the pursuit of professional and social goals. These are considered foundational to the principles of individual liberty, equity, and justice in American society. While they're originally articulated in the context of the American Revolution, they have since become recognized as universal principles of human rights. So, like, what people don't understand is America is basically like the testing ground for the world. Like, like most music, most stuff comes out here, and then the rest of the world picks up on it. You see what I'm saying? So now you have to understand what is the right to liberty. Okay, the right to liberty is often referred to simply as liberty, the fundamental principle that encompasses various freedoms and rights associated with individual autonomy, self determination, and freedom from arbitrary interference or restraint, is the cornerstone of democratic societies, even though America is a republic, it's not a democracy. And is considered essentially to protect human dignity and individual rights. The right to liberty includes several key components: freedom of thought and expression. Individuals have a right to think, believe, and express themselves freely without fear of censorship and reprisal. This includes freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of religion, and the right to hold and express diverse opinions and beliefs. So if you understand how things are, like where Instagram was blocking people, YouTube was blocking people who would make comments, they would say they were inappropriate or they weren't fact checked and et cetera, et cetera. Well, we all toe the line through this public and private system, you know, so there's always a public private kind of intermingling. So YouTube is a public platform that is owned privately. Just like if you go into a grocery store like Kroger, Publix, they're a public private corporation. All right. So freedom of association and assembly. Individuals have the right to associate with others from organizations and to assemble peaceful and lawful purposes. This includes the right to join groups, participate in political activities, and engage in collective action to advance shared interests. Now, if you've seen my video where I talk about the man in blue is a friend to you, in this video, I show you how the government uses special interest groups like that, and then they use them and weaponize them as a control opposition. Now, if you don't understand what control opposition is, I'll give you a form. You can also watch my video, Man in Blue is a friend to you, which is referenced here. Okay? It's a great video. You should see it. It'll show you how police manipulate things, everything from crime to the media to the news, how how they create events that never took place. People die who never existed. We live in a very odd time, especially with technology. I mean, you can literally take a Obama speech from years ago and change his speech pattern and change it and make it say something else. Or you can take a Trump speech and do the exact same thing. We live in a very, very crazy time. That's why you have to be careful about giving away stuff like your DNA and all this other stuff. So everybody's chanting for DNA testing, not understanding they're giving their information away and that the government can implement that and use them and create crime and make them criminals. That's why you have stuff like Minority Report video. They're basically telling you how bad it could get. All right. So, freedom of movement. Individuals have the right to move freely within their own country and travel abroad subject to reasonable restrictions imposed by law for public safety. See? So, they have reasonable, it has to be reasonable restrictions. Okay. So, imposed by law for public safety. Okay. Now, you have to remember when the legislature passes laws, those are public laws. They're not private laws. But what happens is when you start moving around or whatever, then they try to trap you in their public commercial system. What really is a private commercial system because they really take all that stuff and sell it off on the secondary market as municipal bonds. Okay, so this includes a right to choose where we live, work, and travel. unjustified interference of the government or other parties. Okay, freedom from arbitrary detention. So when you're on the side of the road and the police pulls you over and there's no exigent circumstances, well, don't you have a freedom for arbitrary detention? Yes. Okay. Individuals have a right to be secure in their persons and property against arbitrary arrest, detention, or imprisonment. See, if you don't know, now you know. This includes the right to due process of law. So, if you understand your rights of freedom of arbitrary detention, now you will know how to put a motion together to say, hey, you guys are bridging on my constitutionally protected rights. Okay? Protection against unlawful searches and seizures, and the right to a fair trial before an impartial tribunal for all you people trolling my video. Okay? You have a right. If the state is charging me, how's the state impartial? They can't charge me for that. You see what I'm saying? The state has to be impartial. They can't prove that they're impartial. How can they not prove they're impartial? Because their actions will show that the judge will help the prosecutor. Almost in every case, the judge will try to help the prosecutor. That's an impartial tribunal. So you should either move it, change the venue, or move to dismiss it. All right. Privacy rights. Individuals have the right to privacy and personal autonomy, including the right to control their own bodies, make decisions about their private lives, and maintain confidentiality in their personal communications and affairs. So, this video that I have talking about um, uh, the silver bullet and me going over the silver bullet should help you understand why I made that video. Okay, equal protection of the law. Liberty encompasses the principle of equal protection under the law, which ensures that individuals are entitled to the same legal rights and protections regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, religion, or other characteristics. Overall, the right to liberty is a broad and multifaceted concept that encompasses various freedoms and rights essential to human dignity, self determination, and individual autonomy. It serves as a fundamental principle in, I always say, democratic society. This is a republican society. It's not a democratic society. It's a republic. It never says anywhere in the Constitution about a democracy. It all says republic. But we're not getting into that. All right. What is the right to life? See how simple that is? Just asking questions to yourself or asking questions to the universe will allow you to get questions answered. And that's why a lot of times people don't get questions answered because they don't answer questions to themselves or the universe. And whenever you're not, you're looking for a Sherpa. Sometimes the Sherpa has to be you. Sometimes you got to take over control. You can't just leave your car on autopilot, meaning your mind. Okay, the right to life is a fundamental human right that encompasses the inherent entitlement of individuals to exist and enjoy their lives without arbitrary deprivation. See, they keep saying the same thing over and over. Each right is restricted from the government because the government or any human that impacts that is really they're going to the government is going to try to make you think that you have to come to them for your rights when it's really their job to protect your rights. You see what I'm saying? So look, protection from unlawful killing. Individuals have the right to be protected from intentional or unlawful killing by individuals, groups, or governments. So you see what I'm saying? So now you hear people that say, "Oh, we need to get rid of the Second Amendment. We need to get rid of the Second Amendment." Well, the government is the one that's creating the crime, and then they're the ones that's saying, "Hey, you need us to save you from the crime that we created." So then, hey, we create the gun trials. We create all of this other stuff. We create uh, the criminal aspect, or we actually can hire people and turn them into criminals. We can use off duty police to riot. We can use anything to create criminals. You see what I'm saying? So this, with stuff like them trying to, take when you hear, anti-gun activists, they're so ignorant they don't understand that a gun is an inanimate object. So how can you control an inanimate object? So obviously, gun control is not about controlling the weapon, it's about controlling the people. So the only thing that controls the people is culture. So this includes protection from murder, genocide, extrajudicial executions, extrajudicial executions, and other forms of unlawful violence. See, you can take this search on ChatGPT, and what is considered unlawful violence. See, you have to be a very good researcher to use something like ChatGPT. You have to know to not fully trust it, but you can use it as a tool. All right, protection from torture and inhumane treatment. Individuals have the right to be protected from torture, cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment or punishments. Okay, that's where you can get a habeas corpus, etc., a mandamus, uh, uh, warranto, in regards to some of these inhumane treatments, some of these abridging of your rights, such as like parole, etc., other sentences being added onto your sentence, etc., concurrent sentences, etc. This includes protections from physical and psychological harm inflicted by state authorities or non-state actors. See, protection from arbitrary deprivation of life. So what you want to do is look up what is considered a deprivation of life, and then keep searching and searching it, and then that'll bring you to knowing your rights. The more you study the rights that you have available to you, the more intelligent you'll become, and be able to articulate your points of why your rights are getting abridged. Right? You can't write a letter to a lender saying that you're committing fraud if you can't define what the fraud that they're committing is. Okay, and you don't have evidence and proof that they're committing fraud. So the right to health and well-being, the right of protection of vulnerable groups, and the right to self-defense. So these are some of your rights. So look, certainly here are a few additional aspects and implications of the right to life, right to bodily integrity, the right to reproductive health, protection for environmental harm, the right to food and nutrition, the right to peace and security, protection of civilian populations, prevention of preventable deaths, and the right of future generations. So, when you see stuff like seatbelt laws and laws where they're talking about, oh, these are the, like speed limits and reckless driving laws, etc. That's what they try to do. So they're really trying to say, oh, well, we're gonna prevent you from potentially harming yourself. And really, what they're doing is saying that they're taking a right and trying to convert it into a privilege for profit. Well, I hope you guys learned something today. As usual, I'm gonna try to make more videos. I also got some videos coming out too. So I got my administrative process videos coming out. Also, I got some more videos that's coming out too. I got a child support video that's about to come out, and some other videos. So I'll keep everybody posted. And as usual, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel and supports my Instagram. Or not my Instagram, it's our Instagram. Shoot. If you support it, it's ours. And with that, I'm out.